Hi, it's me, Alanna Starr, and tonight I have the talking stick, and I feel very called to speak on something. And what that something is very sacred and special to me. And a lot of people have been asking me, so funny, I just have to show you. A lot of people have been asking me, you can't see, this sucks, but it says 10:11. It's 10:11. Let me see if I can turn my light off. Can you see that? 10:11. It just went off. Okay. So, and that went off because Cami61381 liked my post, and I'm pretty sure that's Christina. Hi. Okay, so I'm making this video because people have been asking me, why do I make 11:11 posts, and why do I screenshot it all the time? And I have to say that it warms my heart that there's this thing going on in consciousness where people are catching on to it and they're resonating and they're understanding, and that's what makes synchronicity so important. And so the reason why I post 11:11 is because of synchronicity. Some people might say, well, what do you wait all day to see it? And I'm going to say, no, actually, sometimes I can plan to get 11:11 and still miss it. You can plan all day for something and still miss it because it goes like that. And like I might set my screenshot and get it ready, and the next thing I know, it's 11:13 because somebody talked to me and then I forgot. It's all about, especially on the days where you're feeling it, you're on the go and you're feeling really good, and like then you see your 11:11 and you just know that moment is like a snapshot. It's like you better keep your thoughts positive. This is number one multiplied, quadrupled, and it's the energy of the ones is your manifested energy to remind yourself to keep your thoughts positive because your thoughts are manifesting quickly. And 11:11s act like portals and gateways because, timelines shift based on events that happen in our life, and that's how we can put a stamp on history for ourselves. That's why big shifts and big bad things that happen create a ripple in consciousness. Our reactions to things create ripples in consciousness. And so 11:11 for me has always been like a portal or a gateway as far as confirmation goes. And I started catching 11:11 long time ago, and I've been making my posts on my Instagram for I don't know, if you look back at my Instagram, it's going to go pretty far back. And the reason why I do it too and post it because people ask me, and I think that that's the important part, is that they're noticing it and they're questioning it, and I'm becoming an activator for those people that are catching my posts. And when I associate them with really good positive affirmations or messages, then they go into the subconscious mind, and it makes people more positive. It makes them more in attunement with the flow of nature. And I realize that even when even when I know I'm rushing and I'm doing things fast, 11:11 will always bring me back to the pace of the flow of the rhythm of understanding that there's a divine plan, a divine blueprint happening here, that we are just in here in this soup of creation, and we can communicate with the environment, and we can communicate through numbers and patterns and synchronicities. So I laughed today because someone posted on my Instagram a comment. It said, bro, what's the special meaning of 11:11? And it relates to everything that goes on in my life because people start sending me 11:11 screenshots. Oh, thinking of you. And I know that one day if they go look and do the research on what 11:11 really means, not just from me, but from other sources, that is a phenomena around the world. Yes, all the numbers you're going to see, we're always going to see numbers. but it's about your mindset, and it's about your perception that you know that you're connecting with. Only you can make that connection. People can only activate you with what they know in their consciousness. So I do it as a gift to people who are on the conscious awakening, to remind them that it's there, that I'm here, and that, maybe it's the first thing that pops up on your phone, and that's the confirmation you needed. Maybe it just feels right to share. And sometimes I post other numbers that are insignificant, and then I go do research and I find what I share. I share what I find, And so, just a quick second. And so, when I do catch it, I don't always decide what I'm going to post before. Sometimes I just go through my phone at what I've saved, and then I screenshot it. And I try to include features that have to do with something that has to do with the synchronicity of why I found what I was thinking about when I got the 1111, or sometimes people will send me a message right at that time that allowed me to see the 1111, and then it makes it more significant for them that they messaged me. And that's how we play the game of the synchronic order. And it does say in the Bible, right, in the different areas of sacred text, that the kingdom is numbered, and that we are numbered because we are, and as above, so below. And so we are all part of this divine plan. And when you can start tapping in and playing with the universe and allowing it to communicate with you, because you're allowing it to communicate with you, allows the universe to reveal more of its magic to you. And when we do this, we lift the veils of the separation here. But if we were to slow down everything, you would see how everything's really just meshed together. And so time helps us separate that. And then those are just check marks. And so when people get together, it's almost like coordinates from above and below, coordinates, and we're all moving around doing things. And so these moments that help us flow with each other, the synchronicities, is what makes this so special. A lot of people don't really care about this stuff, and my goal is to not convince anyone. I'm only but there's a little feather in there. So I'm only just an activator. I'm only just a daughter of the flame. I'm only just a very ancient being inside of one body. And so all my particles out of my atoms are just here with you. And they're trying to make something of all of these symbolic events that happened. And I've been connecting the dots with multiple sources, and going back as far as Carl Jung. He's been speaking of synchronicity, or he spoke of synchronicity and taught lectures on it, and people have done lectures on his lectures. And so I read these things and I watch them, and I have personal experiences, and this is why I feel called, not just called, but I feel like it is my purpose in life to activate people, to remind them of their divineness, to remind them of the all creation, to remind them of all the mystical teachers that are available. And it's a personal experience, but it also unites people and universal consciousness. Speaking of a universal consciousness, you can probably go like the Instagram page for Universal Consciousness 1111, and which is so funny because that Instagram is ran by a good friend and the creator of Dave's Good Vibration Station and others, I believe. And so when I was invited to speak at one of their events in Topanga Canyon, I spoke about this talking stick and the 144,000 and the tribes, and it turned out to be that the address for the Topanga Recreation Center is 144 Topanga Canyon. So all these synchronicities, it all goes back, it's all relevant, it all is full circle. And yeah, so the other funny thing is that when I was going through papers today, I found some writings that I did from college around 2010 that spoke about how I was at the wrong place at the wrong time. I went to a class where It was not my class. It was multicultural day. We were asked by our professor to go sit in on another cultured class and learn what they were teaching. And all the teachers are teaching a subject that is not normally taught in their classroom. They pick it for the multicultural day and they speak about it. And this particular teacher or professor was speaking about, he's an anthropology professor, but in this case he was speaking about the ancient gods of of India. And he spoke about Shiva. And this paper basically talks about how I thought, basically, let me just read it. It starts off by saying, sometimes I get the feeling that everything does happen for a reason. I truly believe this because on occasion I have events happen to me that I can't fully explain to anyone. I catch myself pondering this question a lot because I know I have been in a society that closes its doors to supernatural happenings even though it's in your face in the movies and in television. Sometimes I get frustrated with myself because I try to stay on task and pay attention to what I'm being told to do or what I'm supposed to do, but then I get caught up in my own thoughts. And that's when I miss important facts. For example, I missed the right class for Multicultural Day and stepped into a seminar about the Hindu god Shiva. I didn't know if this class was right at first, and I sat down anyway. I knew for sure that when I was the only one from my class there that it was not right. I thought about getting up and attempting to find the right place. But when the instructor started talking, something told me inside that this is where I needed to be. So I sat down, and knowing that I would not make my other class, I didn't know what would happen, but I knew I needed to stay. And the first subject that I would call it that was brought up was God. The obvious fact that God's side is presumed to be the same. I'm not sure what this part means right here, but with the same perspective. However, what God expects is different for each person. What would God approve of or not? I learned that the conception of God is different in different directions of the earth. The word and concept is there is yet what does it mean for each person individually? I started thinking about how I live my life and the way, while my fellow peers are doing things different than me, but I felt related to all things and their lifestyles regardless of our difference. We all have a set of assumptions about God, about life, and our free will. We all have a concept or belief system with a set of texts, rules, morals, and thoughts and ideas, reasons, etc. Context comes to those who come to us over time. It's amazing because in the quick moment, this instructor went on to the next topic, and I had already formed my thoughts about what he was discussing. I learned before about the significance of colors and symbols, as well as numbers and words. So I feel it is safe to say that being at the right place at the right time isn't just a coincidence, but merely a synchronicity, a nudge to be curious, but a hint to be wary. According to cultures such as Hindu in India, to be exact, there was a waiting room, which is our existence in a human body. Our worldview is the life we are given, a life given to us to understand, to learn, experience, and discuss and discover for ourselves. Life is a minefield in which we, sooner or later, learn to navigate ourselves around. One life can be reduced to trial and error. Like the path people always mention, there is always a dead end or a beginning created. Some aspects of life are better and some are unfortunate. While some are lucky, we can honestly say that God is our judge, and we do get to be judged. People will judge people all the time in the name of God, but they don't know if God really wants all of that. What God really wants or sees for the future is not the same for everyone. Do you think we only have one true path? Are those who don't follow the rules or sacred texts bad? Will they suffer for the wrongdoings, or are we praised for overcoming hardships and outgrowing old bad habits and learning from them? What if I'm willing and able to transform my faults into logical experience knowledge? I thought about these questions and realized that I am the one who takes everything with a grain of salt and a cup of sugar. Like many in other cultures, again relating to Hindu, I believe in drawing a contrast between what I'm learning personally and what I'm being taught from others. I learned first that sometimes we think or are subconsciously believe that certain concepts are real and true to the vine, because that's what they are taught over and over. They are tales floating all over the air, floating all over. Honestly, it's going on and on too much. So I wanted to read that. I wanted to stop a little while ago, but I just kept going because I was interested, because to be honest, I didn't read fully through until just now. I just read the beginning about the synchronicity of numbers and the fact that I wrote that what I'm trying to say is that you don't always think you know where you're going, or sometimes you think you know where you're going and you end up somewhere completely where you thought you wouldn't be, and it's like completely mind-blowing. It's that synchronicity, that flow that just is there, this divine blueprint that I'm talking about. And those 11:11s, those 12:12s, those 13, not 13:13, but like there's always like a number of patterns happening in your consciousness if you can just only tap into that and see them and catch them in license plates and catch them, and pick up notes that are on the floor randomly and just relate them to something, and you'll realize that your universe is speaking to you, your consciousness is communicating with you, all the particles are communicating with you. And yeah, just like the way I found this stick. I have a video on my YouTube channel that talks about how I got this stick, and just a reminder that you can be a real manifester in your life. And that's how Carl Jung spoke of the unconscious collective, and how we were continuously creating this unconscious collective through our ability to create, to manifest. And so as we were doing this, we created kind of chaos, because we were not aware that we had the ability to do this. And now all these multiple energies are creating constantly, and there's this balance and harmony that needs to come back in for the collective conscious, for us to purposefully co-create together now, aware what's happening. So those 11:11s, those are your chances to connect with the moment and be like, aha, I am co-creating this moment. And so that's my message to you. Just remember that you're a co-creator, and I will be speaking more about this. I don't want to go on and on in this video right now, so I'm going to cut it off. All right, love and light, and keep your shadow tight.